welcome to Our Issues Milwaukee. I'm your host, Andrea Williams. This week we are on location as 17 museums across Milwaukee County celebrate Milwaukee Museum Week. We're going to make our way to at least 3 of these outstanding establishments to kind of highlight the importance of our local museums and all that they have to offer. To kick things off, we are here at the world's only Harley-Davidson Museum, and I'm being joined by Jim Fricke, who is the curatorial director here at the museum. How are you?
That's me. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having us, and needless to say, there's so much rich history under this rooftop. So let's talk about some of the things that you guys have been doing to celebrate Milwaukee Museum Week.
Well, first of all, we're really excited to kind of kick off this, what we hope will be an annual event with Milwaukee Museum Week. And so each of the museums is, doing a number of kind of unique things. And so we had a great day on Monday with youth under 18 free, and had just really a marvelous day here at the museum. And have done a couple things through the course of the week. I've been giving kind of free curator-led tours highlighting all of the amazing connections between Milwaukee and Harley-Davidson, and kind of the reasons that this could really only have happened here in this unique city. And I think we're going to be doing that at 11 o'clock and 2 o'clock on Saturday. So.
Okay, so this weekend actually wraps up things, and people have had an opportunity to be reminded of all of the rich history that is here. And when you think about Milwaukee and Harley-Davidson, the two together, it's just really, the story is endless, right? I think everybody's heard the story of the 10 by 15 garage.
Yeah, the shed.
The shed that was in the Davidson's backyard, right on Milwaukee's west side. And that's where it all started, right?
Yeah. And, one of the things I think that we try to highlight here in the Harley-Davidson Museum is how those guys, we talk about the 4 founders. The story really started with Bill Harley and Arthur Davidson, who were friends, and it was, I think, a combination of things. The turn of the 20th century, there was a lot of excitement about, it's a little bit like now, all this new technology, things are changing pretty quickly. There's a lot of, ideas about what can we do with all this new stuff. And both Bill Harley and Arthur Davidson, and then the soon to be joined by a couple of other Davidson brothers, Arthur and William, all worked in the industry here. And the fact that Milwaukee was such an industrial center at the time, I think was one of the primary reasons they kind of could picture, we not only think we talk about Arthur Davidson and Bill Harley apparently were inspired to do this because they saw someone with a motorized bicycle, and they thought, that looks like fun. They didn't picture us sitting here 116 years later, talking about it, but they were excited about the new technology. They thought that it looked like fun, and they thought, we want to build one for us. Yeah. And things kind of snowballed, and
the rest, as they say, is history.
But really, they couldn't, like the 10 by 15 foot shed here at the museum. We have the oldest known Harley-Davidson motorcycle, and we put it, it's of course in a nice case. It's the only one here that's enshrined in that way. But we show the outline of that shed, and part of it, the reason we do that is because you look at that motorcycle and you look at that outline and you realize, well, that couldn't have been a factory. They couldn't have built everything in that room. Right. They were able to do it because there were foundries here and machine shops, and they were right here where all this stuff was happening in a city where things were built. And that's how they were able to start this company.
I love it all. And so you have an exhibit that is a new temporary exhibit here called Taming the Road in Style. And you just talked about them seeing a motorized bike, but down at that exhibit there is a bike next to a motorbike, so to speak. And really that played a role in the whole evolution of everything we're seeing here.
Yeah. I mean, by the time we get to these motorcycles that are behind us, you know, they resemble kind of the things that you see on the road today. You know, back at the beginning of the 20th century, this was all kind of crazy new technology, and the motorbikes back then really did, you know, look quite a bit like bicycles.
Zero suspension.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The only suspension was, you know, the springs under the seat.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, one of the things, and I think this is, you know, this is kind of pertinent to the subject of Milwaukee Museum Week and what all these museums bring to the city is people are often surprised that more than half of the people who visit our museum have no connection to motorcycling whatsoever. You know, about 20% of our visitors are actually Harley owners. So, you know, they're coming to this place because they've heard this story of this, you know, kind of amazing success story, a company that still makes things here in the U.S.
And has really, when you think about it, added so much to our local economy when you have all the people who come in from around the world to take part in the Harley-Davidson events and the anniversaries. And you had one super duper Harley-Davidson fan that came through recently, Jason Momoa. Of course, for those who don't know, he's also known as Aquaman. And he released this video. He was literally walking through here like a kid in a candy store.
Yeah, he couldn't quite get enough, but he was getting it all pretty quickly. He was just going from one thing to the next. And he's a good, you know, he's a good example where he was, I believe they're shooting a film up in Toronto, and they had a day off. And he wanted to come, and
he's like, I'm close enough to get there.
Yeah, I want to come here. And that's, you know, kind of what I was going to say about the stuff downstairs is that, you know, because we have to engage with people who might not know anything about motorcycles. That exhibit we were talking about a minute ago down there, you know, it eventually ends up explaining to people about one of our new motorcycles, but in order to put it in context, we take it all the way back to 1895 with a local bicycle company where Bill Harley, you know, started working and talk about the evolution of the vehicles from that point to the present.
Yeah, and I definitely want to mention for those people who like to represent Harley-Davidson, the brand, and of course when people see Harley-Davidson, they should automatically think of Milwaukee. You have what's called the shop, and there are some unique pieces of merchandise that you can't find anywhere else, and this is an example of what you're wearing, right?
Yeah, it is, and you know, all these things are intermingled because if you watch that video of Jason Momoa, he bought.
He was like, all these original sweaters. I was like having fun watching him, actually.
Well, and one of the things that we highlight here in the museum is all of the, you know, the gear that people have sported over the years. And one of the things that my department, you know, with the collections and archives does is work with our friends in the shop. And so these are all reproductions of period club sweaters, and they have gone out and found manufacturers here in the U.S. again, where there's a company in Portland, Oregon that's been making club sweaters since the 30s. Wow. And that's, you know, that's who makes these things.
I love it. So we're quickly running out of time, but I did want to make sure our viewers know you guys are open, 363 days a year, right? And through April, you'll be offering your $10 Tuesdays.
That is correct.
And I don't want to forget, you've got the Mama Tried Bike Night, which is huge, coming up on Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day is the Thursday, so we've kind of got the opening event down here at the museum, and then it's a fantastic motorcycle show that you don't have to be, kind of like the museum, you don't have to be a motorcycle fan to enjoy it. And it's up at is it the Eagles, the Rave?
Oh, Eagles Ballroom,
the ballroom
it goes by all those names. And so your website quickly, so people can find out more.
www.hdmuseum.com.
There it is. Thank you so much, Jim. Jim Fricke is the curatorial director for the world's only Harley-Davidson Museum, located here at 400 West Canal Street. For more information on anything we've discussed, again, you can go to h-dmuseum.com. When we return to Our Issues Milwaukee, we'll visit an award-winning historic museum, an architectural landmark in Milwaukee that's been around since 1890. Find out where that is right after this.